addition, glancing in valor and splendor and the light of genius, Arabia shines through long ages over a great section of the world. Belief is great, life-giving. The history of a nation becomes fruitful, soul-elevating. So we see the Prophet Muhammad really making a huge contribution to the advancement of the world. And hence, in a book called Muslims' Contributions to World Civilization by Dr. Bashir Ahmed, he said, it is by no means an exaggeration to state that it was Europe's encounter with Muslims and Muslim civilization that became the engine of the European Renaissance. You know, people talk about what's called the Dark Ages. Well, guess what? The Dark Ages were not really so dark. If you look on the other side of the globe, just across the Mediterranean, the Muslims were prospering. They were the golden ages. So hence, we would not call them the Dark Ages. And so, there is a professor at the University of Manchester by the name of Dr. Hussaini. He's written a book called The 1001 Inventions. You know, after the 1001 Nights, Arabian Nights. 1001 Inventions, where he actually shows and demonstrates that Muslims have made a lot of contributions to modern day civilization. So if you go on to the next slide, please. So the hypothesis that I could make here is Muslim scholars and scientists were the driving engine for modern civilization, as the previous writer thinks. My premise is the Prophet Muhammad is the driving engine for Muslim scholars and scientists, as Thomas Carlyle suggests. Therefore, the Prophet Muhammad is the driving engine for modern civilization. Now, here in 1001 Inventions, Professor Salim Al-Hassani, who is currently now chairman of the Foundation of Science, Technology and Civilization at the University of Manchester, he says, many of the most important advances in the study of optics came from the Muslim world. So optics, very important optics. One scientist by the name of Ibn al-Haytham, or Al-Haytham, who died in 1040, so we're talking about over 1,000 years ago, according to the Encyclopedia Britannica, he invented what's called the camera obscura, which is basically projecting through a hole an image on a screen. That invention in itself became crucial in the modern day camera. So significant contributions to the principles of optics and the use of scientific experiments by Al-Haytham. Therefore, you can see this individual right here. She's trying to convince her husband of buying a smart, not phone, but a smart camera. This camera can talk, can do a lot of good things, but she's trying to convince him. And also, I think a lot of you guys are familiar with this. A family right here where the son is quite happy with his iPhone. The wife is happy with her, the daughter is happy with her iPod, the wife is quite happy with her iPad, and the husband is iPad. So, yes, you can blame the Muslims next time you use your iPad. All right. How many of you had coffee this morning? 11, come on, yeah, that's it? Come on, guys. Canadians, what's up with you, man? Like, Tim Hortons? All right, yeah, awesome. It was coffee. As Muslims, we have some diet restrictions. For example, we're not allowed to have alcohol. We're not allowed to have, for example, pig meat, ham, etc. So we have some diet restrictions. I tell my fellow Muslim congress, all the time, I say, we thank God for the creation of coffee. And we thank him even greater that he allowed us to have coffee. He did not make it forbidden for us. So that's a wonderful thing. Interestingly, coffee, according to Professor Al-Hassani in 1001 Inventions, coffee was discovered by Muslim worshippers from Yemen. These people wanted to stay up the night in devotion, praying to God, which is something that was taught by the Prophet Muhammad. Staying up to pray to God in the middle of the night, when there's nobody around, it's basically your time to have a one-on-one conversation. Now, what these people interestingly found, they found these beans. When they take these beans, and they boil them in water, and then they drink the extract, well, guess what? Oh, all of a sudden something happens. and it allows them to stay extra long at the night. So they liked them, and they started using them. And hence coffee was discovered. Later on, the Europeans, when they came through the tradesmen, they came through this stuff, they said, this will make really good business. Starbucks, second cup, Tim Hortons. So let's take it over there. And indeed, too bad at the time we did not buy any shares in coffee. So we really missed out here. This is an interesting one, art and science. Unfortunately, you cannot see the reference, it's been cut out. But this is from a professor in Harvard University, Dr. Liu. Dr. Liu is a mathematician. He went to a mosque. Now, if you go to mosques are simple usually in design. However, especially in the Middle Eastern world, mosques have a lot of what you can call geometrical designs. Like you can see here, these shapes, these geometrical designs. What this professor from Harvard, Dr. Liu studied these geometrical designs at a particular mosque that is 400 years old. This mosque is 400 years old. This was published in the paper Science, one of the most prestigious scientific journals out there. So in Science, he published this. He studied these geometrical shapes. And he said, whomever designed this mosque 400 years ago knew of a formula that was not discovered until the mid-1970s. So this person, the designer, the architect of this mosque, did not make these shapes in random, but rather he knew of a formula that was not discovered until the mid-1970s. There was a lot of contribution to the Islam, to the Muslim world, to the world as we know it today. Unfortunately today, the face of Islam that we see is this. And that's where the media portrays. I love you guys, media. I was just telling Lisa, they're awesome. We stand here to speak for like a whole hour. These guys deliver the exact same message in 1 minute. They're amazing. They're wonderful people. We should teach us some lessons there, how to abbreviate our talks. But unfortunately, a lot of what you see in the world today is this. We don't get to hear of all the positive things that are happening in the world today. We get to hear of this. You have radicalization in almost every religion. You have them in every group. You have them in every society. We have, unfortunately, some Canadians who are not great people. They're behind bars, rapists, murderers. But do they represent us? Of course not. They don't represent the whole population. You'll have them in every society, in every part of the world. Interestingly, let me tell you something. The media loves the things that makes the news. They love it. So I speak globally. I go to a lot of places to speak. Do you remember back, when the Vancouver Canucks lost the Stanley Cup? Do you remember those days? Do you remember what happened, the riots and all that stuff? Okay, that year I so happened to go to Australia to speak. And so people asking me, where are you from? I'm like, I'm from Canada. It's like, oh, Canadians, you guys do these riots. You guys burn police cars. Whoa. No, we're very peaceful people, man. We're very... Well, that's what the news says about you guys. I was like, whoa. The news, they just like to portray all the stuff that makes all the, the hype. We're very peaceful people. We have a lot of nice people. Oh, wonderful, great. Well, the next year, do you remember the Montreal riots? Because I think the tuition hikes, the tuition were about to be increased. The politicians, they tried to increase, and politicians figured out that, no, it's not a good idea. So then, again, some students got a bit excited. Unfortunately, they did not do as peaceful as they should have. And I happened to speak that year in London, UK. So I go to London. Where are you from? I'm Canadian. Oh, Canadians, you guys burn police cars. I'm like, whoa, what are you talking about? Montreal. I'm like, whoa. Just take it easy, guys. We're very peaceful people. We're very kind people. What you see is just what makes the news. That's just something exciting. Obviously, the media is not going to portray us Canadians having such a beautiful gathering, sitting peacefully there, because the media thinks that's boring. That's not exciting. It's what makes the news is what makes excitement. Unfortunately, sometimes that's what's happening in the Muslim world. It's what you have, those people who do not represent Muslims, who do not represent humanity. They're the extremes. They're the individuals who are the bad apples, but they're the ones who are making all the news. In a book called Islam, the Straight Path, Professor John Esposito from the University of Columbia right now, that's where he is right now, he has the following. In chapter 2, the Muslim community and history, and join me in the quote here. In many ways, local populations found Muslim rule more flexible and tolerant than that of the Byzantium and Persia. Religious communities were free to practice their faith, to worship, and be governed by their religious leaders and laws in such areas as marriage, divorce, and inheritance. So if you live under Islamic rule, but you're a Christian, you're a Jew, etc., you're free to practice your laws according to your own faith. And he says for these reasons, some Jewish and Christian communities aided the invading armies, regarding them as less oppressive than their imperial masters. In addition, if we look at the Nobel laureates for peace in the last decade or so, in 2005, Dr. Mohammad al-Baradi from Egypt won the Nobel Prize for Peace. A year later, Dr. Muhammad Yunus of Bangladesh won the Nobel Prize for Peace. Fast forward to 2011, Tawakkul Karman, who at the time, in 2011, she was the youngest Nobel Peace Prize winner at the age of 33. From Yemen. She's a Yemeni journalist. So you guys can actually win Nobel Prizes. I'm quite impressed. And then, in 2014, Malala Yousafzai became the youngest Nobel laureate at the age of 17 for her work. Now, interestingly, go back please, just 1 second. Our heart aches for sometimes what happens to our fellow Canadians. One of them, of course, the incident at the Parliament Hill a couple of years ago, if you remember. That was very sad, very tragic. You had an individual who unfortunately killed an officer, and that was something that is very dear to us. Now, what hurt me as a Muslim is that the shooter was attributed as a Muslim being influenced by radicalization. Although this individual may have been a Muslim, but he was suffering from depression, he was going through some mental breakdown, so the individual may not have been even stable. I'm not justifying what was done, it was a tragedy. But why associate the religion with it? And on that same day, something that I only heard once in the news that whole day, and read about it only once. That same day, when the shooting happened, she was supposed to be speaking at the Parliament Hill, hosted by the Prime Minister at the time, Mr. Harper, to be awarded a Canadian citizenship for her dedication to humanity. She's a Muslim. How come when she was invited, it was never said she's a Muslim? But when the shooter killed, he's a Muslim. I feel there's some miscommunication happening here. We need to be informative. If you're going to associate the religion, well, associate it positively as well. But in my humble opinion, it should not be even associated with any form of radicalization, because radicalization has no religion. As Muslims, we share a lot of similarities with all religions, especially the Abrahamic faiths. If we take a look at the Torah and the Quran, in Isaiah, peace, peace to the distant and the close. And what does Muslim say? And say peace on its inhabitants. In Leviticus, you shall not hate your brother in your heart, but evil with what's best. Honor your father and your mother as the Lord your God has commanded you. And your Lord has commanded that you shall not worship anyone but Him, and be kind to your parents. See the similarities, moral values. They're very similar, sending it over to the Bible. Peace to this house, as the minister mentioned, and say peace on its inhabitants. When you enter, spread the message of peace wherever you go. Love your enemies, as Luke says. Repel evil with what's best. Exodus, eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth. However, Quran said, but he who forgives, it shall be an expiation for him. Try to forgive. Go a step further. Love people. According to the chapter of Mary that we heard recited by our dear brother, Jesus, peace be upon him, says, and God has made me blessed wherever I go. That's what we need to be, a source of blessing wherever we go. And there is hope. Such gatherings bring a lot of hope. In 2014, in Gaza, because of some bombings, unfortunately, Muslims lost their mosque. So a church in Gaza offered their church for the Muslims to celebrate their Eid prayers, as we see there on the left. Again, in 2014, when ISIS or Daesh attacked northern Iraq, and a lot of Christians were attacked, and Muslims were attacked, and other faiths were attacked, the holy shrine of Imam Ali welcomed the Christians and welcomed people from every faith. This was in the Washington Post, where they said, fleeing Iraqi Christians find safe haven at the shrine of Imam Ali. That's something that we need to spread out to the world. That this is how we need to deal with each other. We are all humans at the end of the day. And this is really interesting from the BBC. A mosque, a church, and a synagogue. 3 in 1, being currently built in Berlin, where you have an imam, a rabbi, and a priest, and a father, joining together to make this. They will have this common place, and then they will have the mosque and the synagogue and the church, where each one will be praying individually. However, then they can come to this common place and meet one another. Have you heard, Little Mosque on the Prairie? You've seen this? This is kind of, speaking of that, actually, Little Mosque on the Prairie. Actually, I visited a community in Winnipeg, in the prairies. This community, they have a mosque. Every Sunday, there's a church that actually comes and rents the mosque to perform their own, activities. So I came and this should be all over the news, like Little Mosque on the Prairie, right there. It's like a real example of it. And so this is something that is really great. A lot of such initiatives are wonderful initiatives. We need to grow on them. We are all Canadians. We love this country, and we want the best for this country. One time a person looked at me and said, you people come from a different part of the world. I thought, wait. I am no less Canadian than any one of you. Canada opened its arms, opened its heart for me. I came, I grew up here, I got educated here. Less than 1% of Canadians carry a PhD, and I'm one of them. And this country gave me this opportunity. I pay taxes like all other Canadians. I serve the society like all other members of the society do. And I try the best for this community. And that's really what we are all about. So let us work together, spread this message. The seeds that have been now planted will grow one day, hopefully, to beautiful trees as one grand Canadian. And may God protect us and protect our land. Thank you very much.
Imam, for giving us highlights of the positive aspects of Islam and the positive message that our Prophet was carrying. And I think what's really important for us is, coming to events like this is not just to talk about, right? So we're not just talking about the message of humanity, forgiveness, and peace of Islam and our Prophet, but also to carry that message out. And so to become engaged with the community and to be informative, as you suggested, but to teach, right? To teach these values, but also embody these values ourselves as Muslims. So I think it's most important to take this and lead our lives in interaction with others by such examples. And the idea of nation and ummah that Imam Alatar talked about, which is really essentially what we are trying to highlight in this event. So not just the message of peace and humanity, but also of unity. So I'm going to go to what Mr. Olauson talked about, which is that we come together and we share our cultures and backgrounds, but we also share our foods. So I'm hoping that you can stay with us. I know that everybody is hungry, and I'm hoping that everybody can stay and join us for supper. But before I conclude the program, I would just like to call on Brother Nader to recite Dua al-Zaman. So after the recitation of the Dua, I welcome you to mingle with one another and to break bread together. Thank you.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. بلغ الغلاء بكماله بلغ الغلاء بكماله كشف الدجاء بجماله حسنت جميع حصاله حسنت جميع حصاله صلوا عليه وآله. قال الله تعالى في القرآن العظيم قوله الحق أصدق من الصادقين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إنما يريد الله ليذهب عنكم الرجس أهل بيتي ويطهركم تطهيرا. Brothers and sisters, Eid Mubarak to you and your family and all mu'mineen and mu'minat, especially to Christian people, about the birthday of Jesus Isa ibn Maryam alayhi salatu wassalam. Salawat. نهنى ونبارك بقية الله الأعظم الإمام المنتظر عجل الله تعالى فرجه الشريف بمناسبة ميلاد سعيد رسول مكرم الإسلام سيد المرسلين رحمة للعالمين طه وياسين المصطفى الأمجد أبي القاسم محمد صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم والأمة الإسلامية جمعا وأنتم أيها الحفل الكريم أيها المسلمون وأيها المسيحيون عيدكم مبارك إن شاء الله. I like to recite first Dua Faraj, because we wait for somebody coming whose 2 stars. One is son of Prophet Mohammed sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. His name Al-Mahdi Al-Muntazar. كما قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم: لو لم يبق من الدهر إلا يوما فبعث الله رجلا يملأ الأرض قسطا كما ملئت جورا وظلما. His name Mahdi Al-Muntazar. And second, Prophet Jesus Isa ibn Maryam alayhi salatu wassalam. And we pray together. Please, first you follow me, and second you say Ameen. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Ya Rahmanu Ya Rahim. Allahumma كل وليك الحجة ابن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه أرضك طوعا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. وصلى الله على محمد وآله الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين. اللهم صل على فاطمة وأبيها وبعلها وبنيها وسر المستودع فيها بعدد ما أحاط علمك. إلهي أنت سيدي ومولاي، اغفر لأوليائنا وكفوا عنا سيئاتنا. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم اغفر للمؤمنين والمؤمنات والمسلمين والمسلمات الأحياء منهم الأموات. تابع بيننا وبينهم بالخيرات إنك على كل شيء قدير. اللهم ادخل أهل القبور السرور. اللهم اغن كل فقير. اللهم اغن كل فقير. اللهم رد كل غريب. اللهم فك كل أسير. اللهم اصلح كل فاسد من أمور المسلمين. اللهم اشف كل مريض. اللهم اشف وأغننا من الفقر إنك على كل شيء قدير برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. خدایا الله ما را ببخش بیامرز، پدران و مادران اموات و گذشتگان ما را ببخش بیامرز. خدایا الله وحدت و یگانگی در بین همه مسلمین و همه ادیان خدایا الله روز افزون و حاکم بفرما. خدایا الله نفاق و کدورت را از بین همه مسلمین و همه ادیان یا الله برطرف بفرما. خدایا الله همه مردم و همه مسلمان و همه ادیان را در راه نیک هدایت بفرما. خدایا الله تعجیل در ظهور ولی عصر ارواحنا له الفداء عنایت بفرما. چشمان ما را به جمال نورانی آن حضرت منور بفرما. حق الحق بالنبی المطلق و حق سوره مبارکت الفاتحه مع الصلوات. اهلا و سهلا، خوش آمدید. ویلکم.
So just a note for the food, we're going to start in about 5 minutes, and we'll start with this table, and then we'll every 2 tables or so can go around. So somebody will be here to tell you which table when to go. Thank you, and Eid Mubarak to everyone.